Hey everyone, Rarity Dash here, and Merry Christmas. Yep, Christmas special time, and for Christmas this year, I'll be reacting to Who Killed Santa? Danganronpa, Trigger Happy Horses by Viva Reverie. Yeah, this came out like early last year, like not at all Christmas time, and when it did come out, I saw that it was basically an hour long, and that it had Santa in the thumbnail and in the title, and basically immediately decided that this was going to be my Christmas special for this year, which did mean sitting on it for like several months, which was kind of unfortunate, but especially since a lot of people did ask for this. But it just felt like the best way to do this for me. I generally don't really care to react to hour-long videos during the week. I mean, I do when it's like Bronies React and everyone's asking for it, but yeah, just some other thing that's like an hour long and is just its own separate thing and not like part of a series that I've already committed to. I wasn't really in a hurry, and since it did have some Christmas connection, it felt like making this a Christmas special was a good way to do it. I'm not really sure how Christmassy this actually is. I mean, Santa is apparently going to die, and nothing says Christmas spirit like that, but it should be a fun thing. I don't really know much about Danganronpa, I gotta say. I've heard of it. I know a little bit about it, sort of. I know it's like a visual novel or something. Or something. I think there's a bit more gameplay to it than a traditional visual novel, but yeah, it's kind of that same sort of thing, and apparently like lots of people die in it or something. I don't really know exactly how it works, so I probably won't be completely up on what this is all about, but yeah, I'm hoping it's still going to be pretty fun. Viva usually just makes really good content. I usually really enjoy it, so I'm hoping that that's the case here. Don't think there's much else to say. Hopefully this is a good video. Let's get started and find out. Okay, and here we go. Disclaimer, parody of Danganronpa. Designed to be standalone. That's important. That's very important. Court is now in session. All rise.
Righto, let's start with a quick explanation of the class trial.
Yeah,
today
by all means. And Santa is already dead. Wonderful.
Fluffy, happy man, whacked with a fatal blow to the back of his head.
Wow.
The murderer was one of you lot, and yeah, you gotta figure out who it was.
Alright.
If the killer gets found out, they lose and get executed.
That makes sense.
If the killer gets away with it, they win, and everybody else gets executed instead.
That makes a little less sense, but why not?
Well, if you refuse to participate, I'll kill you. Can't have any party poopers around here. Also, the killer would get away, and that would be awfully boring.
Those are words of being kidnapped by a psychopathic
Horse of water.
You mean we have to solve the murder?
And goth. Oh. And no voice for Viva?
Well,
solve the murder of
first step
Santa.
is to look at all the facts we've gathered in our investigation.
Oh.
Santa's body was discovered in the second floor science lab at 12 p.m. The ones who discovered it were John and Jake, who then immediately called the rest.
That is a weird spelling for Jake.
Actually, it was more John's scream that did that.
Why is Santa's blood pink
Cash
again?
money dollars.
When was the last time we saw
Great
Santa,
pony
right?
name there.
I saw him at breakfast at 10 a.m. We all saw him at 10, you doof.
I saw him enter the science lab at 11:15, and Remarkable was with me.
Oh.
Oh, and I guess Celestia was with us too.
So therefore, we can deduce that the murder happened
I wasn't
sometime
sure, but
between
that
45-minute
hooked
gap
me.
Of 11:15
That was
and 12 p.m. That's a big gap. Anybody could
favorite
have
character,
walked in that
Celestia.
entire time. Nobody has an alibi.
Actually, I was with Pumpkin the whole time.
Yes, trying to sell me a comb, if I recall. Is that really an alibi, though? What if you're just co-conspirators?
That's possible.
If I was the murderer,
That
who
one
got away
pony's
with it, that would
cutie mark
basically
is
be
just the
suicide
word
for
sexy.
You're just saying that
That's
to cover
great.
your own ass. Besides that, there's also the science room door's lock. It was definitely broken while it was already locked, meaning the door was either broken into or broken out of. Why is that important? because the door was definitely locked at 11:55. I tried it myself.
Okay.
There was meant to be a meeting in that room with me, Jake, John, and Santa at 12 p.m. So I left the cafeteria at 11:50 to go there.
Me, Manfred, Goss, Celestia, and Pigeon were all together.
I arrived 5 minutes early and saw that the door was locked, so I thought the meeting was called off.
Yet the door opened fine when I arrived 5 minutes later.
So sometime between those 5 minutes, the murderer must have broken out of the room.
Shame, because if I saw who that was, they'd be dead.
Thanks, but we
I'm
don't
sure.
need a recap of the history of your strength. Another issue is that the lock was broken internally, unlike traditionally where, you'd hit it.
Well, I don't know about you, but I think this is a pretty open and shut case. It was obviously Scott.
What? You can't just say that.
Don't tell me I'm the only one that notices how obvious this is. Scott, as the murderer, literally just has to make up whatever he wants and he's off the hook. As the most recent one to show up at the crime scene alone, he's obviously the culprit.
Well, maybe, but... Non-stop debate. Oh.
Scott's lying. He says he tried opening the door at 11:55.
This is very well
But he's
done,
the
the
one who
whole
broke it.
presentation of it. I'm sure it
Are you
looks
kidding?
very
I had
much
no
like the
time
game.
to have done that.
You had all the time in the world. You left the cafeteria at 11:50. That's 10 full minutes. Santa was killed by a whack from his bionic arm. There was no better time. They were all alone. It was the perfect crime.
Oh. So what is it?
Scott's lying. He says he tried opening the door at 11:55.
Yeah,
But he's the one who broke it.
we've been over this.
Are you kidding? I had no time to have done that.
You had all the time in the world. You left the cafeteria at 11:50. That's 10 full minutes. Santa was killed by a whack from his bionic arm. There was no better time.
No, that's wrong.
Break.
Cash, there's a serious flaw in
Now
your
we got
argument.
voice dialogue from Viva.
You say that Scott could have killed Santa completely risk-free because they were completely alone.
Yeah, duh.
They were going to have a meeting in that room not 10 minutes later, not just Scott and Santa. But both Jake and John were on their way, and Scott had no way of knowing when they were both going to arrive.
Well, that
Yeah?
one's easy. He just made sure to watch both of their movements to make sure they weren't arriving early.
No, that's also impossible. Because Scott was in the cafeteria for at least the past 30 minutes. I saw him myself, along with several others. There's no way you could have scouted Jake and John so intently when they weren't even in the same location. In fact, this proves Scott could not have been the one to do it. He was the only one besides John and Jake that knew there was a meeting scheduled in there at all.
Alright, I guess you got me there.
Well, somebody had to have broken that lock. If it wasn't Scott, who was it? Well, not counting Jake, John, Scott, Cash, myself, and everyone in the cafeteria, that leaves Crass, Mamagma, and Waterhorse. I cannot confirm my alibi.
So you're saying you did?
No, I'm just saying that even if I told you where I was, you wouldn't believe me.
Interesting.
For the record, I was sitting by the door to the roof, alone. Alone all day since breakfast until I heard the body discovery announcement at 12, where I came down myself to investigate. What's up with the body discovery announcement anyways?
The body discovery announcement plays over the intercom after 3 people discover a dead body. That
Inter-
way everybody in the school knows someone died. Even
Oh,
people playing
it's that
hooky like
often an
Pisco
occurrence?
here.
I'll have you know that my water has a pH of 7 on the dot.
You're beautiful.
Does that line up? Did 3 people see the body before the body discovery announcement?
Yes, first you were John and Jake, then it played when the rest of us from the cafeteria showed up.
That leaves Crass and Mamagma left to state their cases.
We parted ways at around 11:30. I just flew around the gym passing time until the body discovery announcement. Looks like Mamagma was probably alone too.
Well, who do we suspect then? Crass, duh.
What?
And unlike the garbage reasoning Cash thought she had, I know for sure I'm right.
Okay, then let's hear it.
Crass has a super obvious motive, while the other two couldn't give a rat's tail.
I would never. How dare you?
Just own up to it. You're the murderer.
Non-stop debate. That's pretty much summing this up so far.
You're looking to replace Santa, weren't you?
Oh.
Unlike Mamagma and Water Voice, you're the only one with a motive.
No way. You can't say the other two are completely out of the picture.
Sir Apathetic and Dr. Mute, yeah, I don't think so.
Even besides motive, one's made of glass.
And the other would never get his hooves dirty. So you're the only one who could have broken out of that room.
That's a premature assumption.
Are you sure that's even possible? Within only a 5-minute gap? Nobody besides those three could have even touched that knob. I'm inclined to agree. The rest of us has rock-solid attaboys.
Spectacular.
Then that settles it.
I think Celestia did
Start
it.
the vote.
If I can counter this one, I would have to think first. I think I'll need to think outside the box a little.
You're looking to replace Santa, weren't you? Unlike Mamagma and Water Voice, you're the only one with a motive.
No way. You can't say the other two are completely out of the picture.
Sir Apathetic and Dr. Mute, yeah, I don't think so.
Even besides motive, one's made of glass.
And the other would never get his hooves dirty.
So who are these
So
characters?
you're
Like,
the only
just
one who could have broken out of that
all
room.
That's a premature assumption.
Viva's OCs?
Are you sure that's even
Or
possible?
other people's
Within only a
OCs?
5-minute gap? And nobody besides those three.
Just characters designed for this?
No, that's wrong.
Break.
No, there was an opportunity for someone else to break that lock. And I believe the evidence is in Jake and John's testimonies. Huh? But we didn't see anybody else.
Oh. Person Mare? Okay.
The only one! Jake, it had to have been you. No, it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't. What are you talking about? I still think it was Crass. Yeah, hey, hold on a second. At least hear me out. I was with him the whole time. I didn't see him break the lock. Yes, you were. And yes, you did. Jake, you hold some strength in that arm, don't you? Well, I wouldn't say you're wrong there. And that same arm was the one that opened the door to the science lab at 12 p.m. Jake, is it possible you broke the lock to that door accidentally? What? What?
Oh.
Seriously?
It wouldn't be the first time.
Magical noises.
What? So it's a possibility then? I suppose it is. Well, then a new door has opened up. And one that's far more logically sound than someone escaping a locked room. Within a small 5-minute gap they couldn't have even known they had. Bonkers. I still say it was Crass. Just because you've opened up a new possibility doesn't mean the old one doesn't exist. No, there's something else that also supports this new theory. Tell them, Reverie.
Oh.
I got it!
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's right. The lock was broken internally, in some way other than hitting it. Perhaps by turning the knob too hard?
The card stating the lock could be achieved by turning the knob too far.
So unless you're saying Crass chose to break it internally instead of just smashing the lock, you'll have to give a pretty good reason why. Maybe he did it to confuse
Yeah, that's
someone?
not gonna hold up.
He made it look like Jake broke it to set us off track. Are you saying he not only knew of Jake's history of breaking locks, but also that he was going to be the next one to try opening the door? Fine. I
And why
guess
is
maybe Crass
only
wasn't
that
the
one
who
a
broke
pointy
the lock.
pony?
Now we're back at square one. No leads. Happy now? We wouldn't say no leads. We did figure some stuff out. But we just eliminated every single person as a suspect. You do realize that's not possible, right? No, it isn't. I believe we've been looking at this case wrong from the start. We thought the only way a broken lock makes sense is if the killer used that door as an escape route. But if they didn't, then that door is no longer relevant. But what exactly does that mean? Well, the killer simply used a different escape route.
Like the window.
Yeah?
That was open the whole time. No locks.
Yeah. Makes a lot more sense.
Well, that brings significance to a piece of evidence I originally thought was irrelevant. A patch of blood was found on the ground outside that window. We don't know who it belongs to, and I assume there is no way to find out using blood testing.
No blood testing is permitted for use to solve this case.
Of course
Nor
not.
am I
Don't make it
doing
easy.
Printing either. That would make this too easy. It's such a bore to watch.
Right, well with that in mind, chances are it belongs to the killer. He must have hurt themselves trying to escape the crime scene. I don't get it. If they wanted to escape the crime scene while locking it up, why didn't they just go through the door and lock it from the outside?
It is not a well-designed door. It only has a keyhole on the inside, meaning it can only be locked on the inside.
Actually, that's why that room was chosen for our meeting. Weird design choice aside, keeps intruders out. Where is the key to that door anyways? We couldn't find it actually, even after a thorough search.
Maybe they destroyed it or dumped it somewhere far, far away.
Under my rule, absolutely nothing may leave the school ground, and I most certainly would not let any school property get damaged. No, the key to the science lab is still intact.
How odd.
Okay.
Ugh, why are we focusing
Interesting
on this
school
right
here.
now? Did nobody notice we have the answer to who the killer is literally right at our fingertips? We don't have fingertips. The killer is the one who injured himself trying to jump out the window, right? So whoever currently has a wound on their body
That was
is
a
the
very
killer.
good point.
Speak up then. Who here has wounds?
Not me.
Nothing on me. I'm clean too.
I'm a princess. Are you a
Shut up, Celestia.
Let's get on
No.
with this then. Even if your body is covered, we're gonna find out eventually. We'll all strip down if we have to. Alright, you made it weird.
What was that, Crass? Got something to say?
I might have a bit of a gash under my wing.
Oh.
So it was you all along.
No, it's not from what you think. It's from,
Oh, clamming up, are we? Trying to think up an excuse.
I had a sword fight with Santa.
Oh.
What?
That's...
Mono a mono, a one-on-one, a fight for the ages. We clashed swords for hours on end, only laying our arms down when one of us finally submitted. He's a tough fighter, I tell ya. His stamina is admirable.
Of course.
This happened yesterday, in the gym, and I lost.
What an epic tale.
It's rather confusing.
That's where this cut came from. A sword fight with Sir Kringle. Not from jumping out that window.
Well, Crass, that's your word against ours. As Santa, the only one besides you who saw this occur, is now dead.
Yeah?
Not again.
Well, here we go. Let's fly to the castle.
Crass, I assert, you murdered Santa Claus. After beating him down, you locked the door and jumped out of the second floor window.
It's a farce. I'm being framed.
By who? You've got nothing, do you?
This also explains why the window was open when we discovered the crime scene. Of course, jumping from that height would naturally leave you wounded. This injury explains the blood splatter on the ground outside.
That injury was from yesterday, I tell you. It's somebody else's blood.
Crash, please, you're the only one in this room with an open wound.
That you know about.
Crass, I assert, you murdered Santa Claus. After beating him down, you locked the door and jumped out of the second floor window.
It's a farce. I'm being framed.
By who? You've got nothing, do you?
This also explains why the window was open when we discovered the crime scene. Of course, jumping from that height would naturally...
Oh.
No, that's wrong.
Okay. Break.
Thanks, Crass. If it weren't for you mentioning this in passing, I would have completely forgot.
Forgot what?
What are you talking about?
How is the round 30? Just flew around the gym.
Crass, you can fly.
Yeah!
You can fly.
My wings are so
I guess I can't I?
You're saying you forgot?
Is it unreasonable to say that Crass didn't think of what he'd instinctively do under a circumstance that didn't actually occur? Crass was injured right by his wing, yes. Perhaps he couldn't fly, hence the latter injury. That would make sense, yes. If your argument wasn't built on the pretense that Crass never got that first injury.
Yes.
So Crass, if he were in that situation, could have easily flown out of the window.
That's very logical.
Taken that fall. Not so fast. Maybe he wasn't lying about the sword fight, but he was lying about not jumping out that window. That wound damaged his ability to fly, meaning he still fell out of that window. My assertion still holds ground.
Ha! Holds ground, you say?
Oh. Well, that proves it.
That means nothing. I'm as fit as a fiddle.
Let's fly to the castle.
So you being able to fly right now is your proof.
If I can fly like this now, I can fly like this earlier today, too.
He did say he flew around the gym. Even if he was lying about that, this here is pretty hard to refute.
How about that then? Am I off the hook?
If this is your proof, then riddle me this. Whose blood is it on the ground outside the science lab?
Yeah. Could be Santa's, but
I got
Yeah.
it! Is it possible that maybe it's Santa's blood? He's the only other one of us with blood exposed. How does that work? Santa was killed on the second floor of the building. I agree, it can't be his. I think that's the wrong way to be thinking about it. We shouldn't be saying Santa's blood can't be on
maybe
the
he
ground
was killed outside and
We
then
should be asking, how could Santa's blood be on the ground outside?
like
Well,
taken inside.
smartass, you're the one who brought it up. Spit it out.
That's where he really died, or yeah.
Got it. I think we've made another wrong assumption regarding the basis of this case. Santa was not killed in the second floor science lab. He was killed outside. Wait, so then his body was moved into the science lab? That's the only explanation I can think of. But why do that? And more importantly, how does that make any sense? He was already in the science lab. Are you saying he not only moved out of that room, but then was moved back in? Might I remind you that you're spending this time arguing that he wasn't murdered in the science lab? Perhaps he was let out of the science lab.
Let out.
Maybe Santa wasn't the only thing that was moved into the science lab.
What's that supposed to mean?
Yeah. That doll? Yeah.
Here! Was anybody here wondering why there's a broken doll sitting on the floor of
That's
the science lab?
Worth
I kind of thought it might
pointing
have
out.
been a murder weapon.
I disagree. Fatal blunt force from that toy would put it in far more disarray.
Well,
True.
what is it doing there then? I definitely don't remember seeing it in that room before today, so I think it may be integral to what played out here. I think that toy was bait, used to lure Santa outside. Santa noticed it on the
Like this
ground
music.
outside. As a toy maker, it's likely he wouldn't want to see an abandoned doll, let alone a broken one. And once Santa was brought outside, alone, that's when the killer struck. And what if Santa didn't notice the toy outside the window? Maybe the killer used some kind of sound to grab his attention? Like dropping the toy from high up?
The state of the toy could be explained by a high force.
Hmm?
Alright, and there you go. That's what I propose must have happened.
Alright, so you have an explanation. But what the hell does that accomplish? All that just sounds like a bunch of fluff leading us in circles.
Well, I
Why
mean,
would the killer lead Santa out of the science lab just to bring him back in? And why in such an obscenely convoluted way? We haven't come up with a solution. We've come up with a conspiracy theory.
well, it's a start. And back to this.
This is insane! If the killer wanted Santa dead, he'll be dead 10 times over. Santa was alone in the science lab. The killer obviously knew Santa was in there. So why didn't they just do it in there?
One thing's for sure, the killer had to have wings. You know, fly Santa back through that window.
By your logic, Santa
Were any of the
might as well have been
unicorns?
thrown up there. Who even
That would've
knows
probably
if
been
flying is
easier.
involved?
Flying is so fun.
Please, can someone just contribute with something that actually makes sense?
Celestia's contributions are the best.
This is insane! If the killer wanted Santa dead, he'll be dead 10 times over. Santa was alone in the science lab. The killer obviously knew Santa was in there. So why didn't they just do it in there?
One thing's for sure, the killer had to have wings. You know, fly Santa back through that window.
By your logic, Santa might as well have been thrown up there. Who even knows if flying is involved?
Flying is
No, that's wrong.
Celestia? What an odd comment to make. Viva, what are you doing? You say flying is fun. You of all people. There's only one thing everybody knows about you for sure.
Let's fly to the castle.
You flew. You flew to the castle.
I think Viva's lost it.
You flew. And you crashed. This is the one thing I think all of us here can say confidently. And yet here
Yeah.
you are, claiming that you think flying is fun. You're trying to set us off track, aren't you? Acting like you're just a casual observer making an occasional cute remark, when you were at the heart of this incident all along. Viva, where do I even start? Celestia has an alibi. She was in the cafeteria when... Actually, when exactly did she show up in the cafeteria? I wasn't really paying attention. I definitely remember her being there at 11:45. I don't remember when she arrived.
I did not take note of her arrival.
I guess I didn't either.
It's not like paying
Yeah.
attention to who arrived when was at the top of my priorities. Well,
No one paying attention.
we've uncovered a new suspect.
Maybe I was right.
You're kidding me! Why are we even spending time debating this? I mean, we haven't even addressed the elephant in the room.
That's quite the accusation you've made.
Oh.
What?
However, I cannot continue to let you speak this way. Staying silent is no longer an option if it means a false accusation is made. First, I assure you I was in the cafeteria at least ever since 11:15. Wishy-washy testimony is unacceptable in a dire situation such as this. Your doll bait theory is full of holes and is only supported by circumstantial evidence. I shall assert a far more logical conclusion.
Okay, let's hear this.
I concur that Santa was lured out of the science lab. However, he was lured not to the ground, but the roof. The doll is the murder weapon. An impact was used not to kill, but to topple him over the edge. This not only contextualizes the doll in relation to the murder, but gives a far more logical explanation for the origin of the doll's damage. More than the flimsy argument you provided. The culprit then moved Santa to the science lab, whether it be by foot or by flight. The hallway connecting the outside and the science lab was never monitored, as is conclusive from our collective testimonies. This now expands the number of possible suspects to a far greater number.
Yeah?
Everybody who was ever alone during the 45-minute gap of 11:15 and 12 o'clock. I cannot be one of these suspects, as I have no reliable way to wield and use the doll to attack the victim.
Yeah, I don't think anyone was.
I welcome you to battle my logic. I cannot be the culprit.
I'm having trouble believing it myself.
By use of sound in the open window, Santa Claus was lured to the building's roof.
Santa wouldn't be lured by something so stupid.
The culprit used the doll to hit Santa, causing him to fall off the roof.
What an idiot, jeez.
After this, it is a simple matter of bringing Santa to the science lab, locking the room up, and fleeing the crime scene via the window.
I guess that explanation does account for everything.
Well?
I cannot be the culprit.
I'm having trouble believing it myself.
By use of sound in the open window, Santa Claus was lured to the building's roof.
No, that's wrong! It looks like luck was on our side today. Throughout the day, completely unbeknownst to them, we had a sentry standing
Oh,
guard.
yeah. He was
Water horse.
Up
You
there.
were standing next to the only door to the roof all day, correct?
I prefer horse of water, but yes.
And you also didn't see anybody there all day, correct?
Yes. Oh, duh, I see what you're doing.
Exactly. Santa couldn't be brought to the roof of the building, at least not by foot, because anybody passing by would be spotted by Water Horse.
That testimony is inadmissible. Water Horse is a suspect.
Your face is inadmissible.
wow.
Him standing by the roof was simply a fib he told, to give an explanation regarding where he was all day.
I don't enjoy telling lies. How dare you?
If it was a fib, it's an incredibly risky one. If anybody just so happened to pass by the roof, his lie would be immediately exposed. If he really wanted to explain away his absence, any of the other nondescript classrooms would have been a far better cover.
Okay, what exactly does this mean in the whole grand scheme of things? Celestia said a lot of stuff.
Yeah?
It means Santa couldn't have traveled to the roof by foot, and subsequently, nobody, was not without flying, could have traveled to the roof at all.
Formidable, a valiant effort.
Does that disprove the whole Santa fell thing, though?
Falling in the roof in that manner, yes. I do like the theory, however. His falling from a great height would match up with his head wounds. And it would also create a humorous parallel with this doll, if it also fell and cracked its head.
Wait, you brought that thing with you?
I did, and something yet undiscovered about it bothers me. It makes an interesting rattling sound when you shake it like
Oh.
Oh.
Oh?
Good news, friends and friendettes. I found the key to the science lab.
Aha.
It is hidden within the cracked head of this doll, and it has blood on it.
Okay. That's an interesting new clue.
It appears the final key to this case has been discovered.
Literal key.
With this new information, we have the ability to bring light to the true culprit. Why would the key be hidden in such a fashion?
To make sure we don't find it?
Precisely. And why would the culprit not want this key to be found?
Because it would reveal who they were.
What an interesting turn of events.
Correct again. Finally, how would this key reveal who the killer was? I will answer this one for you. An aspiring toy maker is the creator of this doll, and they developed all its hidden intricacies, including a hidden compartment.
What?
Of course, you may surmise this toy maker is crass.
This is complete red-hot bullhorn. I didn't put any hidden compartments in there. They're hollow by design.
Yeah, I mean,
Of course, he would not dare reveal how to expose such a compartment under scrutiny of death. But of course, there is no other explanation for why the key is inside this doll.
Yes, but why would he put it in there in the first place?
May I bring your attention to the blood on the key? How do you believe the blood got on the key? I will answer this question with a question. How do Pegasi hold objects? Under their wing. And under Crass's wing is a wound. Crass is therefore the possessor of this key, and therefore the culprit.
I can't believe this. I don't believe this.
I don't either, because we have,
That could just
like,
as easily be
still
Santa's
30
fault.
minutes left.
Might I remind you that only just during this trial did we discover that blood testing was not an option. Poor feeble little Crass, he was acting without knowing if his blood could be distinguished from Santa's. Trying so hard to cover up for his crime, and yet here it is in full display.
That's not true. None of this is true.
This doll is indispensable towards locating the culprit. This doll's cracked head formed conveniently upon impact with Santa's own head. Without it, we wouldn't have found the key stashed inside it.
And the key proves Crass is the killer?
Precisely. Crass is the owner of this doll. He used a secret compartment in the doll to stash away the key. As the creator of this doll's mechanisms, and the only one who knows how it functions, Crass is the only one who can insert any items into it.
Lies. All lies.
Yeah, doesn't sound like a very...
This doll is indispensable to
Good argument to me
locating the
either.
culprit. This doll's cracked head form conveniently upon impact with Santa's own head.
making a lot of
Without it, we wouldn't have found
jumps
the
in
key
logic.
stashed inside it.
And the key proves Crass is the killer?
Precisely. Crass is the owner of this doll. He used a secret compartment in the doll to stash away the key. As the creator of this doll's mechanisms, and the only one who knows how it functions, Crass is the only one who can insert any...
No, that's wrong.
You sound very confident in your words, but under those words is a very flimsy argument.
How dare you!
Okay, don't want to make her angry. Can we not make her angry? Celestia, according to your very own argument, the key was inserted into the doll by the only one who was able to open the toy, Crass. But simply retelling the correct order of events completely disproves that theory. This doll's head was cracked first. With a cracked head like that, literally anybody can insert the key into that doll after seeing that scene.
It's a very good point.
Here's we're finally getting somewhere.
It's kind of
Well,
thinking...
we better be. This is getting really confusing.
I agree. In fact, while the atmosphere is set like this, I think it's time to clear up a few misconceptions. Misconceptions?
You mean you can prove me innocent?
Now, Crass, I didn't say that much. As productive as it might be that Celestia has given us new possibilities towards who the murderer is, I think a lot of what she has stated is rather flawed in logic.
I shall be the judge of that.
Are you getting flustered? You shouldn't be if you truly are innocent.
Oh. Acting a bit suspicious there now, Celestia.
First, let's clear up the method of murder. How exactly was Santa killed? He was hit by the doll, right?
But a fatal hit from that doll would cause far more damage to the doll than we currently see.
I thought he fell off the roof.
We disproved him falling off the roof already.
Well, Reverie, you seem to be good at figuring this kind of thing out. How did Santa die? It shouldn't be too hard. It's basically process of elimination.
Some other thing? Or...
I got it! Well, if the doll can't be the murder weapon by itself and no other murder weapon of the type was found anywhere else, then his death must have been caused by falling from a great height.
Yeah?
Precisely. Next, how could it be fallen from a great height?
Just not the roof? From the second floor. Okay, that makes sense. Or, oh. Well, I guess that makes more
Well, the
sense.
second floor would hurt, but it wouldn't cause death. And we know the roof is off limits, thanks to Waterhorse from earlier.
Your gratitude does not fall on deaf ears.
So, if he must have gotten killed by falling a great height, he must have been pulled up? Correct again. The only ones who have the ability to ascend to a height like that without roof access are wingers. Likewise, I think we can all agree that the only one who could kill Santa at this point are those who are alone and have wings.
I was not alone. I was in the cafeteria.
Shut up, Celestia. This brings our suspects down to 2, Celestia and Crass.
Oh, I can't catch a break here.
Now that we have that cleared up, let's clear up the circumstances surrounding the key and the doll. First, why is the doll damaged?
I forgot, what was Viva's alibi? Like,
Got it! I'm still standing with my
there are
original
wings there
assertion.
too.
It was used to bait Santa. It most certainly isn't irrelevant considering its placement in the science lab and involvement with the key. But it sure wasn't used to hit Santa because there would be no point. Once he's lifted up in the air, he sure ain't gonna need to get hit by the doll. He's basically already dead.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. If you were being flown in the air, I would think it'd be pretty easy to wiggle out. Unless you were unconscious from the swing from that doll.
Not entirely. If Santa were fixated on that doll, the winged horse could easily sneak up on him. In flight, we don't make that much noise, and once he's been grabbed from the back, there's nothing he could do about it.
So it has come down to this. You believe that is how I murdered Santa Claus?
Oh, Celestia, if it weren't for this, I wouldn't be suspecting you right now. Of all the reasons you came up with to get you off the hook, I'm curious as to why you not being able to lift Santa through the window was not one of them. Perhaps because you could lift Santa. You are rather durable.
He's made for children after all.
Therefore, I don't see it as an impossibility that this murder method is a viable option. Next, let's talk about the key and why it was placed in the doll. That was so the killer could hide the key, right? No, that's not the only possible explanation.
That doll is not designed for storage.
But nonetheless, it was used for storage. Riddle me this. If you have no pockets, where is the best place to store a small key? Anywhere, really, if you don't want to lose the thing. Exactly. Now I call it a safe assumption to say that Santa was the last possessor of this key. At least before he was killed and the key transferred ownership to the murderer. Are you about to accuse Celestia because she has no pockets?
That is an unreasonable accusation.
No, because although Crass has his best thing, he has no pockets
Ah,
either.
yeah.
Anyway, if the killer wanted to store away this small key and had no other storage space, sounds like it'd be rather convenient to use this doll now, wouldn't it? I mean, I guess.
That is misuse of product.
Now, there's finally one last thing I'd like to come back to. Why the door was locked in the first place. Why the door was locked? We never solved this, and it will provide us with a rather important clue. Let's ask the obvious question first. Why lock the door?
To hide the body, obviously.
Of course. Now this is where it gets interesting. Why hide the body? But that's also obvious, so that we don't find it.
Yeah?
Yes, the door was locked to hide the body. The body was hidden so that we couldn't find it. But we did find the body. The body wasn't supposed to be found. Now think, what exactly does that mean?
Oh.
I got it! It means the crime scene was likely intended to have more work put into it. We discovered it by complete chance, meaning we probably saw things we weren't supposed
Yeah,
to see.
that makes sense.
Correct again, and I believe that's exactly what happened. The doll at the crime scene was an anomaly. The blood outside was an anomaly. If the killer wanted to frame someone, they did a rather poor job. So, how does that make you feel, Princess Celestia?
Foolish. How foolish and immature. You seem to have a baseless vendetta on me, as everything in your accusation also
I still
applies
love you,
to
Celestia.
Crass.
She's got a point.
Yeah, nothing here is actually specific towards Celestia herself.
Are you kidding? Even after a super evil voice reveal thing, you still trust her?
None of your evidence is conclusively exclusive. Now who are you going to believe? A princess or a scruffy chimney sweep?
Why, you little... This is all completely absurd. How do we even get to this point? How is Santa even dead? Santa was a martyr. He would always talk about wishing for the good of all, even in his demise.
Santa's pretty great.
I respect him and all the sacrifices he has made.
We should all respect Santa
was a very
and his
intelligent man, a
amazing
caring man,
sword fighting
a very
ability.
humble man, and most of all, a very honorable man. There's a lot you can learn about a person from a hand-to-hand fight. A respectful close quarters duel between two fighters of similar skill. Even when one falls, they bow in respect. Because in a respectful duel, it's never about winning. Santa was that kind of man. He was a friend, and I look up to all he has done for all of us. I lost in that duel with him, and that drives me to become stronger. I will work, and one day I will make it up to him.
Cute. But your false sentiments mean nothing now. You're grasping at straws if you think you can sway opinions with that performance.
Oh.
None of your accusations directly apply to me.
You dropped that doll outside the window.
So could Crass.
You placed the key in that doll.
So could Crass.
You grabbed Santa from the back and dropped him.
So could Crass.
You left the crime scene alone early.
You honestly believe I'm that dim-witted?
All of this seems rather fishy. There's something here he wouldn't need to do.
None of your accusations directly apply to me.
You dropped that doll outside the window.
So could Crass.
You placed the key in that doll.
So could Crass.
You grabbed Santa from the back and dropped him.
So could Crass.
You left the crime scene alone early.
You honestly believe I'm that dim-witted?
All of this seems rather fishy. There's something here he wouldn't need to do.
None of your accusations directly apply to me.
You dropped that doll outside the window.
So could
Going
Crass.
through this again, huh?
You placed the key in that doll.
So could Crass.
You grabbed Santa from the back and dropped him.
So could...
Oh.
No, that's wrong. This whole time you were hoping we wouldn't notice. You have a way with your words, and you're very much a quick thinker. But you knew from the start we had the ability to find you out. You're correct about one thing. Everything you did, Crass could have done too. However, Crass had no need to do any of that. You are small, far smaller than the rest of us.
Yes, that's a very
You
good
told us
point.
yourself that you have no reliable way to wield a weapon, but Crass does. All around the school was a multitude of different possible weapons. Heck, Crass could have even built his own. So why would he choose flying Santa up as his method of murder?
To frame me.
Oh, come on!
Oh, Celestia, you of all people should know that's an impossibility, as up until this very trial, Crass didn't know you could lift Santa up at all. You're the only one who would choose this method of murder. Princess Celestia, you killed Santa Claus!
What now?
Feeble! You're so feeble! After so much deliberation and false accusations, you completely forgot. I had no way of knowing Santa would be alone in that room.
What? That's not true. I know that's not true.
You said yourself that Santa, Scott, John, and Jake were the only ones who knew that meeting was occurring in that room. How could I kill Santa if I didn't even know where he was?
Celestia. There's one person in this room who can prove your guilt once and for all.
An impossible feat. Don't bother lying to my face.
Oh, you're finally coming into play.
When was the last time we saw Santa alive?
I saw him at breakfast at 10 a.m. We all saw him at 10, you doof.
I saw him enter the science lab at 11:15, and the Magma was with me.
I am Princess Celestia.
Oh, I guess Celestia was with us too.
Kras has already stated that there's no way Celestia wouldn't know Santa was in that room. However, Celestia of course passed that off as Kras telling tall tales. But we have someone else who also saw Santa enter that room with them. Magma. All we need is your confirmation. Was Celestia with you when you saw Santa enter the science lab?
Nod.
And that settles it.
No! I refuse to accept this! Your testimony is inadmissible! My word is final! I am Princess Celestia!
That you are.
Princess Celestia! Oh, my hair looks beautiful!
Yes, it does.
My barrettes look so pretty! You're my best friend! You're my best friend! You're my best friend!
Viva, I think it's time to put the nail in her coffin. Gladly. Now then, Celestia,
Here's everything that happened in this case.
Okay.
everything began with a fortuitous moment. At 11:15, the killer, along with Kras and the Magma, spotted Santa entering an isolated room, the science lab on the second floor of this building. Knowing Santa was alone, the killer then immediately went to action, setting up their murder plan. First, stealing a toy from Kras, so that he can later be framed for the crime. Next, the killer went outside and flew up with this toy, dropping it outside Santa's window. This alerted Santa, the sound being loud enough and the window being completely open. Truth be told, Santa was in this room for a meeting, one set up for 12 p.m. But through curiosity and 45 minutes of free time, he went outside to check out on it anyway. Santa's movement would be predictable with nobody around, and his eyes set on the prize, so the killer merely had to hide around a corner and make their strike with his back turned. He was lifted up into the air, and the instant he was
Poor
grabbed,
Santa.
he was basically already dead. This
Wow.
could only be done by flight, meaning the killer had to have wings. One fatal drop later, it was up to the killer to cover up their crime. Of course, being spotted right now would be devastating, so they needed to be quick. Sometime during this rush, the key to the science lab, that of which was in Santa's possession, was doused in his blood. It was also placed in the now container-like broken doll, likely for travel purposes. A small key like that could be easily lost otherwise, especially if you have no pockets. When these were rushed to the science lab, the body and the doll weren't touched again. This is because the killer, who then locked up the room from the inside, believed nobody would stumble upon the body, at least not for the next few hours. The body was in an obscure locked room after all. Therefore, no cover-up job was made to frame a false murderer. The killer then blended themselves into the cafeteria. Nobody noticed them entering. They were now going to spend the next few hours thinking, planning how they were going to frame Kras, their intended target. Then 11:55 rolled around. The meeting was about to start in the science lab, and Scott was about to attend. Of course, the door was locked, and Scott likewise thought maybe the meeting was called off. But not 5 minutes later, John and Jake showed up, and if Jake wasn't the one to touch the lock, the body would never have been found, as his strength accidentally broke the lock. He and John discovered the body, calling the rest of us over. By this time, any plan to frame Crass was over. You might be wondering why a murder was played out in such an odd way. Why the murderer had to send Santa outside to execute his plan. This is because they were small, far smaller than the rest of us. And this was the only murder method they had open.
It's a great picture.
Princess Celestia?
Complete.
Very well. I concede. I was the culprit.
How could you?
Wow.
What an interesting turn of events.
Is that so?
I like that pony's
I'm
voice.
curious. Why do it?
Santa delivers many a toy to children. I see them come. I see them go. It's always about delivering all those toys. But he refused to deliver me.
Wow.
He did tell me why, but I refused to accept his answer. He told me I was a misrepresentation, that the
No.
children deserved better.
No.
Well, he's not wrong. You're not very
You're perfect.
accurate.
Yeah, I mean, those wings.
Those colors.
The eyes.
That posture.
And especially those quotes. Princess Celestia would never say those kinds
Sure,
of
she
things.
says those
It's
things
almost
all the
like whoever
time.
designed you knew nothing about the original character.
That's just the kind of man he was. It's called creative integrity. That's something Santa had in spades. Even to his final day, he refused to let his friends down. I respect him. I respect him and everything he's done to all the children around the world. And I declare, here and now, that I will follow in his footsteps. I will do what I can to make it up to him. On the next 25th of December, all around the world, it will be a happy Christmas.
Alright, that's enough of that. Now then, have you all decided
Happy
on who
Christmas,
you think
everyone.
the killer is?
That we have.
Good, and congratulations, you're all correct. And you know what that means? It
Oh, no.
means it's time for your execution.
Oh no.
Very well. I competed in this battle, and I lost. I accept
Not
whatever it is you
Celestia.
have for me. Righto. Now then, Princess Celestia, for you I have prepared a very special punishment. It's time to have some fun. I bid you adieu.
Well. Oh. Game over. Celestia has been found guilty. Time for the punishment. Oh. Oh. Okay. Yeah, I mean... Wow. Does it need wings? Well, I mean... Yeah, that wasn't overkill. Trigger Happy Horses, Danganronpa. Yeah, that was definitely a passion project for Viva Reverie there. A lot of work went into that. It's a cute plush. Yeah, Okay. Well, yeah, that was an experience. That was kind of a weird video. Very well made. Viva did a great job with every step of it. It had a great visual presentation that I'm sure is just straight from the game, and or games. There's more than one of them, and yeah, it looked nice. It was well put together, very well edited, and for a hour-long video, that's quite the feat. So definite props there for that, Viva and the other people who contributed. It was quite nice to look at, and pretty fun. It was pretty funny. It was a weird video, kind of a bit strange since I didn't really know who the characters were. I mean, we got Viva Reverie, who shows up in a lot of things, and I think I've seen some of the other ones maybe in some of Viva's other videos. Like, some of them did look a little bit familiar, but I don't really know who they are. It was like I was watching a video just with a bunch of OCs of people I don't know, which kind of made it strange. It wasn't even like when you get like the Brony OC people, the analysis people and whatever else, and put their OCs in a video. That at least there's some character established that I can that I have some perspective on. Even if I don't know them, I can sort of say, oh, this is someone who does something, and after I watch a few of those things, then it starts to come together a bit more. But here, I just was sort of dropped into this and don't really know who these are supposed to be or really any of that. And that, I think, kind of did maybe hurt me in terms of actually trying to figure out the case as it went along. I don't think I did a very good job with that. I mean, I tried to keep up with the flow of logical progression, and I think I did that okay, but in terms of actually figuring it out, I didn't really know where to start, didn't really have any frame of reference. Though I do like the idea of this. I think if I actually played Danganronpa, I'd probably be okay with it, because, I mean, I assume the games do a better job of actually establishing the characters and, like, just laying things out in a way that you can figure it out. And you also, I'm sure, have time to actually figure things out and don't, and it isn't just like a, continually playing thing, and that, because it is a video game. But yeah, with this, I was kind of just a bit lost at parts and not really sure where it was going, but that's fine. I mean, it was still interesting, and it was still exciting to see the different twists and turns in the logic of everyone and the discussion of the case. And it was pretty fun. And of course, my favorite part was Celestia, just that character. At first, it was just the silly Celestia toy throwing in random quotes, and then we had the reveal, and then things got serious, and it was still hilarious, just the way that Celestia was portrayed. And I'm glad that she was the culprit. I called it. I mean, that's one thing I did call pretty early on. Because it was the best answer, really. I mean, we don't know who the other characters are. We know who Celestia is. It means the most if she's the one who is actually guilty. But yeah, there was a lot of humor with that, and just with other little bits here and there. And I mean, poor Santa. This was my Christmas special, and it's a video all about solving Santa's murder case. Merry Christmas, everyone. It was pretty good. I mean, it was a good Christmas special, I guess. It was worth watching. I mean, I enjoyed it. And will this open doors to a Danganronpa Let's Play down the line? No promises, but anything's possible. I don't know. I do plan to do a lot more Let's Plays, but I don't know. It might be hard to, like... Because, I mean... Persona 5 still gonna last for a while longer, probably. At least a few more months. And then after that... No ideas what I'm gonna really do, but there's gonna be, like, new games coming out in the future, and... those might get priority, but maybe at some point I might like squeeze something like Danganronpa in there. It does kind of intrigue me, but yeah, we'll see. Anyway, hope you liked the commentary, let me know if you did, and see you on the next one.